Okay, so now we're gonna switch back to fashion real quick, but also tie it into source material. Monica Rambeau was Captain Marvel. All right. So Theresa, I'm gonna do really brief history, and the guys will back me up and interject when necessary. All right. The original Captain Marvel was an alien from the Kree in the comics named Mar-Vell. Strangely enough. Carol Danvers got caught in some kind of explosion thingy, and she got basically his powers thrown onto her, and she was Ms. Marvel for a time. Then,
are we doing this? I don't mean to interrupt you. Are we doing this for me specifically, or just in general?
Just for the audience too.
Well, for the audience too. For the audience too. All right.
There's a very convoluted history.
Yeah. All right. So Carol Danvers is Ms. Marvel.
I'm still trying to get it right.
Yeah. All right. So Carol Danvers is Ms. Marvel. All right. Then she gets her powers stolen and her memory stolen from her by Rogue from the X-Men. Okay. Loses all her powers, but then she becomes binary and she gets a different set of powers. The power of a binary star system. Then Monica Rambeau becomes the new Captain Marvel, and she's got like a silver and black costume. Now, this is what I wanted to ask. The blue and white outfit that Monica is wearing when she comes in her 70s outfit, is there a time, guys, is there a time when she wore blue and white in the books?
Not that I remember, but I think they've taken the first design of her costume, which is pretty simple, kind of a black and white, and each costume after that has been like a slight variation of that same theme. So there could be a blue and white in there, probably maybe a blue, white, and black. It's just
Patrick, it's hard to say canonically. Is that the pronunciation?
Yes, canonically.
Because when we first are introduced to her by John Romita Jr. in an Amazing Spider-Man Annual 20. It's an Amazing Spider-Man Annual. She's not introduced in
I can see that cover
19,
in my eyes right
19. Now. I think it's 19.
Yeah,
19
that sounds right.
Basically, wow, rabbit hole there. Forgive me. She's wearing the black tights. She wears a black undersuit. And then she's got a silver top with the black star radiating out of the center. And she has kind of the stingray, manta ray black coming off her arms.
Black Bolt wing falcon.
Black Bolt wings, only a little not as like spiky or pronounced.
Yeah, they're almost.
And that's the costume she will wear, black and white or black and silver, depending on how the colorist wanted to deal with it, through her term as the leader of the Avengers. And she's really, I did not know Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel when I was a little kid in the 80s, growing up on Secret Wars and Avengers and the like.
Captain Marvel,
Monica Rambeau was my Captain Marvel.
Was your Captain Marvel?
Oh, wow.
So I knew there was another Captain Marvel. He had died long before I started collecting.
Yes,
and then Miss Marvel would not take on the mantle of Captain Marvel until very recently. And when I say recently, I'm talking in the last 20 years.
And also once again, she became binary.
Yeah,
and then something happened, and she got the Kree powers back, and she was going as Warbird because her
binary powers, just as a plot device, started to wane. And she came back to the Avengers, and she basically was hiding from the Avengers the fact that she was less powerful. And it wasn't that she was less powerful, it's that she needs to absorb energy to throw it back. But she wasn't binary. She starts at a very high power level. In fact, one of the things that I noticed in the Captain Marvel movie, which is a podcast in and of itself, they didn't really turn her into Captain Marvel so much as they turned her into binary.
Yeah, definitely.
Power-wise, that's binary I'm seeing on the screen.
Yeah.
Super cosmic,
You know, they
Energy
borrowed
radiating
because
from her.
Carol Danvers has one of the most complicated and troubled and frankly gross histories
Oh
of
God!
almost any Marvel character.
Let's
Again,
not go into
a podcast in and of itself that we should put a pin in.
Yeah,
But I fell in absolute love with her before the term waifu was invented, while George Perez and Kurt Busiek were doing their run in Avengers, because they just made her into a very realistic, empathetic person who was trying to rebuild her life.
And that's when they started calling her Warbird.
And that's when she rechristened herself Warbird. I thought she was awesome. She started to take the steps that were needing to be taken to become Captain Marvel, to take that mantle. And that's when I found her the most fascinating. It's not really anything we're going to see in the movies, because they have to wrap all this history in.
And they're trying to do this, the Kelly Sue DeConnick, version of the character,
Right. And
which is hilarious that all the like right-wing, incel assholes were so bent out of shape. And it's like, look at this character, like she's not sexy anymore, which is one of the Comicsgate things.
So creepy.
God.
Oh God, yeah. When they changed her costume, it's like she's butch, and it's like this character is now like kind of a right-wing leaning former U.S. Air Force colonel. She's not hippie granola, and certainly very far from the original character, which was a journalist for a magazine that was basically Ms. She was supposed to be
she was leading, I think, Now magazine. She was still an Air Force colonel. I mean, for God's sake, her best friend was Wolverine. Yeah. How soft do you think she is?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a great, very, very, very pre-Warbird where she comes back to Earth and she sees Rogue for the first time. Walt Simonson drew it.
Oh yeah,
she punched her into outer space,
and she punched her into fucking outer space. Yep. And holy hell! Because Chris Claremont wanted to right wrongs done to Carol, and he gave her a lot of juice.
Oh, he certainly did.
So,
and then Kurt Busiek said, "There's a lot of trauma here, and I want to watch Carol work through it." And I was fascinated. It was good writing. It was George Perez pencils, and I loved her. It's not the Carol on the movies, and frankly, it can't be. You can't put that much history in there. They kind of again. It's the same thing with the MCU. You're going to see elements of the storylines. Carol's amnesia from Rogue, that's translated into the Kree's manipulation of her.
Yeah.
She doesn't have her memories, but it's not Rogue.
You know what else too? Speaking of fashion too, just at least from a comic perspective, what they don't understand is a lot of that change in her costume and look was right after Marvel was in a long tug of war to get the rights to Miracle Man. And when they finally got the rights to it wasn't by accident that the minute they got the rights to Miracle Man, if you look at the costume design of Carol with the shorter hair and the way the star is designed, it looks a lot like Miracle Man.
Well, it looks like Miracle Woman, actually.
Yes, a female version of Miracle Man. Yeah,
wow, now that you mention it,
you can see it.
Yeah.
And Marvel was in a big tug of war back and forth, because I think I forget how the rights were between the original Miracle Man, the English guy who wrote it, and somebody else, and the rights were all. It was big tug of war.
I don't know if it was Alan Moore or if
it was Alan Moore.
Well, it was Alan Moore who wrote it originally. Yeah, I don't know.
But he had to sign off on the rights, but there was some legal issue where Marvel wanted to make sure that it wasn't just Miracle Man. Eventually became Marvel Man was his name. His name changed to Marvel Man.
Well, to go get some deep background for you. All right, so the character that we call in the United States Miracle Man, was originally a ripoff of the
Shazam.
Shazam
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So originally in Great Britain in the 1950s when it was published, what has happened is they published all of the Fawcett Captain Marvel stories and built a big fan base. And then they didn't have any more stories because, DC had sued Fawcett, so Fawcett wasn't publishing any more stories in the U.S., so the Brits didn't have any new Captain, Shazam, Captain Marvel stories, so they created this thinly disguised version of Captain Marvel called Marvel Man, and instead of saying Shazam, he said Komodo, which is atomic spelled backwards. And of course, just about everything in Alan Moore's career, he took somebody else's creation, retrofitted it, and made it modern, and then afterwards complains about how people are mishandling his creations. Which weren't his creation.
With double quotes.
Yes. Yeah. Your creation, The Watchmen, you mean all the Charlton fucking characters that DC was going to let you use? Stop it, Alan. I mean, listen, I love a lot of Alan Moore's stuff, man. But he is, talk about misplaced righteous indignation. It's very easy for him to be an anarcho-syndicalist, which I kind of am myself now. Sitting in his fucking castle in Scotland.
Yeah, that was.
But we digress.
But that was especially as an artist myself, as an artist and a cosplayer. But I wasn't a cosplayer back then. But I was always an artist my whole life, and that jumped out at me right away. I'm like, holy shit! Excuse my language. That's
please don't drop F-bombs, anything you want. Yeah, explicit.
And I recognized the costume right away, and I'm like, holy cow. But people miss that. Like Marvel intent, it's like they want to protect what they own, the same way they, but we can bring it back around to bringing it back to WandaVision and Rambeau. I love the way they gave us a character, and I feel like you got a real chance to know her before she ever uses her power. So the audience has a real chance to know who she is as a person. And I think that's Marvel's strength. Like Marvel's strength is, hey, we focus on character first, not just slam banging powers,
And it was a great way to do an origin story within a bigger story, so people aren't like, oh, another fucking origin story.
Exactly.
So Monica Rambeau, like I said, always love her as a character, hold on one second, folks. Okay, well, we've been rambling and the conversation is going great, but we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Vision. All right, this is the Literate Nerds. We'll be right back. Nerds. Okay, welcome back to the Literate Nerds. I'm here with my guests, Theresa, Levi, and Marc, and we are talking WandaVision, and this part of the show we're specifically going to talk about the Vision. And what they did with him as a character in this, and how much I love him and how integral he is. When I was going through back issues, reading some stuff, he was the Avengers logo on the comics for years. Yeah. So he's really integral to the Avengers as a group, And I mean, Bettany is just so good, isn't he?
Yeah, I agree.
He's awesome. He brings like this real gravitas to Vision, and really just makes him something real that the audience can really sink their teeth into. Especially as anytime they put like a robot or AI, like the more human they can make them, the more you can really just get pulled in. I think he does a great job. He's freaking amazing.
Well, that's the thing, that he really captures about Vision is that Vision is, he's very emo, for the want of a better term. He's always been about, trying to fit in, and, always about, he's always been feared, and people see him as, a weapon and, an automaton. that's a danger, as opposed to this living being, that has rejected